now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. If you haven't registered for the gents, we have a registration table from the gents hall coming into the ladies. And for the ladies at your front entrance, please register over there. Thank you. Brother Fidos, that picture is going on the Sydney broadcast, just letting you know. Hello. For the, what is it? Can you see it? Can you hear me? No? Hello? 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 You sure? So. A little bit. If you've already registered, please make your way through the hall to see our origins and the Khoja sports.
I got you.
If you have not registered, please see our registration desks and they will fill your name in.
This must have been like
I mean, this is the whole No, I was working for the hospital. Now, yeah, my father from Mombasa to Zanzibar, and from Zanzibar.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Khoja Heritage Day. We're going to begin in 5 minutes. If you can make your rounds and take a look at the posters. We will start at 3:25, 3:30ish in regards to the Quran recitation. Please take your seats.
Like swing.
G. Oh, when did we get these?
In Mombasa, in secondary. Now we are at the low class. From Mombasa, Zanzibar. We all started. No, I studied when I finished my school. That's St. Joseph. This when I started after the school, I started PWD, public works department. Worked at the public works
So your public works is, this must be probably
This is not enough. The range is 175. Then science. Now I was already science, not
If everyone can take a seat so we can begin the Quran recitation. From Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. From Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Khoja Heritage Day Festival. As you look around, we have posters of our origins, as well as the early Khoja migration and all of our achievements in sports. We are going to begin right now with the Quran recitation. From Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد. لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد. أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد. يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا. أيحسب أن لم يره أحد. ألم نجعل له عينين ولسانا وشفتين وهديناه النجدين فلاقتحم العقبة وما أدراك ما العقبة. فك رقبة أو إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة. يتيما ذا مقربة أو مسكينا ذا متربة. ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة. أولئك أصحاب الميمنة. والذين كفروا بآياتنا هم أصحاب المشأمة. عليهم نار مؤصدة. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Next up, we're going to have our welcome speech by our very own President, Brother Hussein Aziz. Before he comes up, a little bit of a background information about him. His great-grandfather had left India in the early 1800s for Oman. His grandfather was born in Oman and left for Zanzibar on a ship in the late 1800s. Afterwards, left for the mainland of Tanzania to Pangani, where Brother Hussein Aziz's father was born, of which he then left for Ifakara in the 50s, where our president was born. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
My elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, Salamun Alaikum. Before I begin, can we all remember with one Surah Fatiha for all our forefathers who struggled mightily to give us a legacy that we are all so proud of. Al-Fatiha. I would like to start by thanking you all for coming here today, celebrating our heritage, a core component to our identity, having our youngsters, our future leaders, here with us to appreciate where our forefathers came from and the struggles they went through in search of a better life for themselves, their families, and their communities. Migration is a painful experience. The Times of India ran a story on the Khojas in January of 2018 and had the following to say about our forefathers and their migration from India. Apart from uprooting oneself, and in many cases with family members, from familiar habitats, it often lands them in strange, hostile territories. The brave surmount the odds and script-inspiring stories, while the faint-hearted fall by the side and are buried by the sands of time. How many of our elders, right here in our center, the bravehearts I call them, prior to coming to the US, were in the most remote of places, say within Tanzania, within Kenya, within Uganda, within the Middle East, within the Far East. Some did not even have electricity or running water, and they lived in those conditions for many years and yet persevered. One thing our forefathers always believed in was that while small in number, our strength was in our unity and in our organization skills. And no matter where they settled, amongst the first thing they did, and this is following the sunnah of our Prophet, was to have a communal location for worship and a center for the community to congregate. Example, Onali uncle. The amount of respect I have for him. With meager means when he came, the first thing he did is establish Mehfile Bibi Sakina, so that our people who are coming had a place to congregate. May I have a salawat for him, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm hopeful today that with the help of our presenters and esteemed panelists, along with the artifacts that support the tremendous amount of research that you see them on easels here, that has gone into tracing our ancestry, which you will all be privy to via the symposium, that we'll all learn something new. We will take away with us something, even if small, which you're not aware of concerning our history. So where does the word Khoja come from? It's derived from a Persian word, Khoja. And Uncle Panjwani is right here. He can explain it more. It is a term of honor. The origin of Khoja community can be classified into two sections. One part comprising of the Kashmiri Hindus, while the second portion includes the Lohana Rajputs, a community belonging to Kashmir, Lahore, and Sindh, a caste of Indian Muslims converted from Hinduism to Islam in the 14th century by the Persian pir, or the religious leader or teacher Sadr al-Din, and adopted as members of the Nizari Ismailiya sect of the Shiites. This is why you hear, oh, our ancestry is from Ismailis. This is where it comes from. These were people famous for their trading abilities. This is part and parcel of who we are. We are traders. It is Mullah Qadir, a much revered figure in Khoja Shia history, who lived from 1842 to 1902 and is credited with converting Ismaili Shias to Khoja Shia Ithnashri. Mullah Qadir. History has it that it was Ayatollah Zainul Abidin Mazandarani who sent his India-born, Karbala-based disciple Mullah Qadir back to India in 1873 on the request of the philanthropist Haji Devjibhai Jamal. I don't know, Muntazir, if he's related to you. We truly owe a great deal to Mullah Qadir for his work on the ground in India and the fact that we are here today as Khojas practicing our faith as Shia Ithnashri, followers of the 12 Imams after our Prophet. In India today, most Khojas live in Mumbai, Gujarat, Kutch, Rajasthan, Kathiawar, and the city of Hyderabad. In Pakistan, most live in Karachi and in Sindh provinces. This is very important for us to understand. Many Khojas have also migrated and settled over the centuries in other parts of Asia, as Hong Kong, Singapore, and to other regions outside of Asia, East Africa, Europe, North America, and the Caribbean. In the Middle East, there is a sizable community in the Gulf and scattered communities in Iran and Saudi Arabia. The presence of our community in Africa is extensive, and all are united under the banner of the Africa Federation, comprising of the Jamaats of Tanzania mainland and Zanzibar, Kenya, Mozambique, Somalia, Zaire, Burundi, the island of Mauritius, Madagascar, and Reunion. Our communities can also be found in Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. When you see these panelists, these countries I've just mentioned, it's very interesting when I was talking to them and interviewing them. Every one of them, sort of their forefathers, touched these countries and these places. It's really fascinating. In the United Kingdom, the Khoja Shia Ithnashri settlers date back to the 40s. But the major migration took place after the dislocation of our community from Uganda in 1972, after being asked to leave the country by Idi Amin. Today in the UK, almost all major towns have well-established Jamaats. In other parts of Europe, we have Jamaats in Sweden, Switzerland, Belgium, France, and Portugal. In North America, we have Jamaats in New York, Allentown, Orlando, Los Angeles, Minnesota, Toronto, Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary, and Montreal. In almost all major cities of USA and Canada, you will find some Khoja families settled in the remotest of towns. Most, if not all, Jamaats outside of the African subcontinent are members of the World Federation formed in 1976 and its head offices in the UK. And thanks, a lot of thanks to Mullah Asghar. We recently had the president of the World Federation, Safdar Jafar, visiting us. And during a session with members of my management team, we were going over our numbers across our Jamaats around the world. He said something that stumped us, at least myself for sure. He said, we the Khojas make up around 150,000 people around the world, with the largest population being in Mumbai with 20,000, followed by Dar es Salaam, Toronto, and Stanmore in the UK. And when you look at the 150,000 number, in relation to the total number of Shia Muslims around the world, which is in the region of 200 million, we take the Khojas, make up just less than 1%, and yet take a step back and think of the impact we have made and continue to make. There is no question that we are amongst the most giving of all communities that make up the people of Shia Ithnashri faith, and indeed amongst the Muslims. We are also amongst the most welcoming. You will find when you visit our centers across the globe that we have in the congregation participants from communities outside of the Khoja diaspora, and we work hard at making sure they are part of everything we partake in. Every time, in every Jamaat, you will see this. And when it comes to responding to disasters, our forefathers have taught us, never hesitate, but step in. It is an honor, it is our responsibility. One only has to look at the community's response to the Yemen crisis, the recent floods in Pakistan, the terrible conditions in Burma, the plight of our Afghan communities. Everywhere you'll see the Khoja community stepping up and not shying from our responsibility, just like Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam advises. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We all have come to learn more about our ancestry today. I'm hoping to learn more about the Khoja way, our culture, our values, the greatness of our forefathers from India, our achievements from a religious standpoint, headway we have made politically, progress in business, professionally, socially, including sports, and so on. We have so much to be thankful for and to be proud of. Our forefathers have left us a legacy, and we have a sacred responsibility that we as a people, while realizing we are small in number in relation to other communities, that we protect our ways, for it is beautiful and it is unique. And we must ensure our future generation, the youngsters with us today, take on the mantle and pass it on. Events as today, taking place across multiple Jamaats around the world, are extremely important. Once again, thank you for being here today, attending what will be a tremendous session in celebrating our beautiful heritage. From Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, salawat. I would now like to ask none other than our own Arif Bhai Jaxi to come forward. And I'll just do a quick intro on Arif. All of you, of course, in the community know him. And I was supposed to give this intro when I also introduce him as a panelist, but I can't resist. Arif has been an exemplary model when it comes to service of our community via the many roles he has served, and including at his time becoming the youngest president of our Jamaat when we were in Woodside. He's now, of course, serving the broader North American community as president of Nasimco. His great-grandfather migrated from Kachkera to Bagamoyo, where he was one of the pioneers behind the building of our mosque, and I was there pre-COVID, and it is a beautiful mosque. His grandfather was born in Dar es Salaam, and then he moved to Zanzibar later in life. And this is where Arif's father, Sheni uncle, was born. Due to the revolution in Zanzibar, the family moved back to Dar es Salaam, where Arif was born. The family moved briefly to Canada in 1976, only to return to Dar a couple of years later to support the family business. Arif came to the US in the late 80s for higher education, and he's remained here ever since, and we are surely very blessed for it. May I ask you all to give him a loud salawat as he makes his way here. From Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you so much, Aziz, for that warm welcome and intro, Hassan. Dear respected alims, elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today on this special occasion of Khoja Heritage 2022. My name is Arif Jaxi, and I'm the president of the North American Shia Ithna Ashari Muslim Communities Organization, also known as Nasimco. I'm a proud son, husband, father, Shia, and Khoja. I was born in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, in East Africa, English and Swahili being my proficient languages. I'm also conversant in Urdu, Kutchi, and can read and write Hindi and Gujarati, albeit not as swiftly as I did during my middle school years in India with Firdaus Bhai. Raised mostly in Tanzania, I began in the education system of the Khoja community in Dar es Salaam from kindergarten and primary school, with Nargis Bhai Megji being my teacher at that time, who also still an active member of our community here at Sijni. May Allah bless her with a long and healthy life, Ilahi Ameen. Later on, I traveled with my parents to Toronto, Canada, and in pursuit of the best education, was later sent to Arusha, Tanzania, then Bombay, India, and then Moshi, Tanzania, before moving here to United States for college. I must say, that everywhere I traveled to and attended school, and not having my parents with me, most of the time, the Khoja community was my safe haven. This community is very unique in that we are all one large family, providing empathy and support to one another. We have come a long way in our journeys, and yet we find the means to always connect and organize a community for the betterment and support of our membership and our future generations. I want to take the opportunity to thank the leaders of this initiative from the World Federation of Khoja Shia Isnashri Community and the Awakening Project of KSI Muslim Communities and Sijni Management for embarking on this vital project and highlighting the important histories of our people. As you can already tell, this journey means a lot to me personally. The Awakening Project advocates the awareness of religion and the Khoja identity through madrasa, mimbar, and the family unit, all values that we share and uplift at Nasimco. Our history is one of great pioneers, visionaries, advocates, and revolutionary thinkers and actors. Our communities migrated facing perilous journeys, uncertainty and struggles, first across the Indian Ocean to East Africa in the 19th century, and then again across the Pacific and Atlantic to Europe, Australia, North America, and beyond. At Nasimco, we aim to unify communities across the continent and keep the legacies of our ancestors alive through capacity building, best practice sharing, unity, and community building. We are bearers of a great responsibility in working to preserve the Shia heritage in a foreign land to whom many of us now call our forever home. Our goal is to preserve language, culture, religious identity, and customs while crafting a new identity as Americans and Canadians as well. We are tasked with a great responsibility, one not dissimilar to the ones that our own ancestors faced in India and then again in East Africa. The purpose of today is in celebration, but also one of deep reflection of our accomplishments and struggles, our resilience, and our collective purpose. This global event brings together pillars of our community, both older and younger, to tell the stories of our 1,000-year history, celebrating the rich legacy of our beautiful Khoja heritage. One of the biggest blessings of our people is in enlightenment, perseverance, and struggles of our ancestors in reverting to the path of the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, in our renewed sense of preservation of identity and collective unity with other Khojas locally and globally. I was deeply moved by Dr. Siptain Panjwani's new book, The Khoja Shia Isnashris of East Africa, Their Quest for a New Socio-Religious Identity, which highlights 100 years of Khoja heritage in East Africa and beyond. The book highlights the importance of preservation of history, lest it be forgotten in times to come. The book urges us to learn from the lessons of our ancestors in adopting to challenging new environments while maintaining a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect for indigenous communities. It's this lesson that I want us to take away today, that in preservation of history, in remembrance of times past, we learn from and embrace the lessons of our ancestors in coming to a new country, in ingratiating with the indigenous community, and paving a unified, prosperous way forward through sustainable growth of our Jamaats, including social, welfare, educational institutions, infrastructure, and business. I wanted to share the following passage with you today. This is not merely a question of history, but a question of the basis of one's identity, morals, and way of life. A community that does not have an interest in its own language and literature will ultimately lose sight of its future. As a result, such a community will remain nomadic, hanging on the language and culture of others. For those interested in finding more about this book, it is available on NASIMCO's website as well as through NASIMCO offices. I encourage our youth here today to learn your family's deep-rooted heritage, to preserve our languages, to continue our cultural practices, and keep the spirit of Khoja heritage alive in your day-to-day lives. You are the future of this great community. On this auspicious occasion, I also urge our elders to remain our steadfast leaders, to hold presence in our communities and guide us to pave our path forward and envision another 1,000 years of Khoja heritage. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with tawfiqat to continue on our collective and individual missions to better the world for our people and for all people, to work towards solidarity and cohesion, unity, peace, and prosperity for all Khojas and Shias around the world. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Brother Hussein Aziz, as well as Brother Arif Jaxi. Next up, we're going to have a video of our Khoja migration from the mainland, as well as a welcome speech by the World Federation President.
ચાર પેઢી દરમિયાન ચાર ખંડની સફરનું સાહસ ખેડનાર કોમની આ એક દાસ્તાન છે કે કેવી રીતે તેઓએ પોતાની સંસ્કૃતિના પ્યાલામાં પોતાના ધર્મને સાચવેલ છે. હિંદના મહાસાગરના મોજાઓ અને તોફાનોનો સામનો કરી અહીંયા ધરતી પર પગ મૂક્યા પછી કેવી રીતે એ લોકોએ આગે કૂચ કરી તેની કલ્પના આજના હવામાં ઉડતા તેઓના પોતરા અને પરપોતરાઓની કલ્પનામાં પણ ના આવે તો કોઈ નવાઈ નથી. આ કોમ જે ખોજાના નામથી ઓળખાય છે તે લોકો અસલ સિંધ, કચ્છ અને કાઠિયાવાડના વતનીઓ હતા. બીજા હિન્દીઓની માફક એ લોકો આજે દુનિયાના દરેક ખૂણામાં વસતા નજર આવે છે. પોતાની માતૃભૂમિ છોડી આ સફર શરૂ કરતા સૌપ્રથમ તેઓને હિન્દ મહાસાગરનું ઓળંગવાનું સાહસ ખેડવું પડ્યું. કેવા કેવા મોજાઓ અને કેવા કેવા તોફાનોનો સામનો કરવો પડ્યો તે તો ફક્ત આ વહાણોમાં સફર કરનારાઓ જ જાણે. આપણી આ દાસ્તાન 650 વર્ષ પહેલાં શરૂ થાય છે કે જ્યારે એક સંત કે જેમનું નામ પીર સદુદ્દીન હતું તે સિંધની સરજમીન કે જે આજે ઇન્ડિયા અને પાકિસ્તાનની સરહદનો ભાગ છે ત્યાં પધારે છે. એ શા માટે આવ્યા, તેઓ કોણ હતા, ક્યાંથી આવ્યા તેની ઘણી દંતકથાઓ આપણને મળે છે. અમુક લોકોનું એ માનવું છે કે તેઓ એક ઇસ્માઇલી દાઈ હતા અને ઇજિપ્તથી આવ્યા હતા. બીજા લોકોનું એમ કહેવું છે કે તેઓ ઈરાનથી આવેલ એક સૂફી સંત હતા. પણ એટલું તો ચોક્કસ છે કે એમણે આવી અને સિંધમાં જ્યાં લોહાણા લોકો રહેતા હતા ત્યાં પોતાનો વસવાટ કર્યો. એમ કહેવાય છે કે લોહાણા લોકો લવ કે જે રામના એક પુત્ર હતા તેઓના વંશજનોમાંથી છે. તે લોકો ઠક્કરના નામથી ઓળખાતા હતા. એ ઠક્કર લોકોની એ માન્યતા હતી કે શ્રી વિષ્ણુના 9 અવતાર આવી ગયા છે અને તેઓ 10મા અવતારની રાહ જોઈ રહ્યા છે. પીર સદદીને તેઓની 9 અવતારની માન્યતા કબૂલ રાખી અને તેમને સમજાવ્યા કે તેઓ 10મા અવતારની ખુશખબરી લઈને આવ્યા છે અને તેનું નામ છે અલી. ઇતિહાસકારોનું એવું માનવું છે કે આ ઇશારો શાયદ ઇમામ અલી અલૈહિસ્સલામ તરફ હોય. તો લોહાણા લોકોની પ્રાચીન માન્યતાઓને કબૂલ કરી પીર સદદીન અમુકને પોતાના તરફ પ્રેર્યા અને આ રીતે તેઓએ એક નવા તરીકા પર લાવે છે કે જેને સતપંથ કહેવામાં આવે છે. સતપંથ એક હિન્દુ અને સૂફી માન્યતાઓનો એક સંપ્રદાય માર્ગ છે અને પીર સદદીનના ઉપદેશો આજે પણ 10 અવતારના ગ્રંથમાં સમાયેલા છે. તે 10 અવતારના જ્ઞાનો આજે પણ ઇસ્માઇલી ખોજા માટે અગત્યના જ્ઞાનો ગણાય છે. આ નવા પંથે એક નવી ઓળખ માંગી અને એ માટે પીર સદદીન સાહેબે તેઓને એક નવા નામથી નવાજ્યા. હવે તે લોકોને ઠક્કરને બદલે ખ્વાજાના લકબથી સંબોધવા તેવી આજ્ઞા પીર સદદીને કરી. ખ્વાજાનો અર્થ એક માનને પાત્ર શખ્સ માટે કહી શકાય અને ઠક્કર શબ્દને મળતો હતો. પણ વખત જતાં એ ખ્વાજા શબ્દ ખોજામાં બદલાઈ ગયો. ઘણા વર્ષોના દુકાળના લીધે ગુજરાતના વતનીઓની હાલત નબળી થઈ ગઈ હતી. કહેવાય છે કે અંગ્રેજ સરકારે ટેક્સના બદલામાં થોડા ઘણા ગાય બકરા હતા તે પણ ઝટી લીધા. બીજા ગુજરાતીઓની માફક ખોજાઓએ પણ પોતાની માતૃભૂમિ છોડી અને એક પરાયા દેશ તરફ કૂચ કરવાની તૈયારી કરી. કહેવાય છે કે આવી બળદગાડીઓ ઉપર ગુજરાતના ગામડાઓમાંથી નીકળી અને પોરબંદર યા તો પછી માંડવી તરફ જતા 2 દિવસ લાગતા. પણ રાત્રે તેઓ શાંતિથી સૂઈ જતા. કારણ કે બળદની ફિતરત એ છે કે એક વખત એક સીધા રસ્તા ઉપર ચડાવી દીધા પછી બિલકુલ આડે અવળે રસ્તે તેઓ જતા નથી. આ પણ એક કોમ માટે સમજવા જેવી વસ્તુ છે. ભારત અને તેમાં પણ ખાસ કરીને ગુજરાતી લોકો ઘણી સદીઓથી આફ્રિકા સાથે વેપાર અંગે દરિયા પાર જતા. પણ ખોજા લોકોએ 1800ની સાલ પછી વેપાર માટે આ સાહસ ખેડ્યું. તેમાંથી ઇસ્માઇલી ખોજા, અલીદીના વિશ્રામ અને તેમના ભાગીદાર ઇસ્લાશ્રી ખોજા નાસિર વિરજી આફ્રિકાના જંગલો વટાવી યુગાન્ડા સુધી પહોંચનારા પહેલા હિન્દીઓ હતા. અને અલીદીના વિશ્રામને અનક્રાઉન્ડ કિંગ ઓફ યુગાન્ડાનો ખિતાબ આપવામાં આવ્યો. 20મી સદી સુધી આ હિંદના મહાસાગરના ખલાસીઓ કેવી રીતે કેટલા દિવસે અને કઈ કઈ મુશ્કેલીઓનો સામનો કરી આપણા વડવાઓને આફ્રિકા સુધી પહોંચાડતા તેનું વર્ણન માંડવીના રહેતા કેપ્ટન શિવજી બોથા સાહેબ પોતાના સ્મરણો રજૂ કરે છે. ખારવાઓ જ્યારે માંડવી પોર્ટમાંથી નીકળી અને આફ્રિકા તરફ જતા હતા તો કેવી રીતે જતા હતા, એ વાણો કેવા હતા જ્યારે લોકો અહીંથી નીકળી અને આફ્રિકા તરફ ગયા, તો તમારા અનુભવનો થોડો લાભ અમને આપશો.
કે આ વાણો જે જાય છે અહીંયાથી એ 9 મહિને પાછા માંડવી આવે. 9 મહિના પહેલાં કોઈ પણ હિસાબે વાણ માંડવી આવી શકે નહીં.
એનું કારણ શું હતું?
એટલે જ્યાં સુધી પવન ન બદલે, સઠ્ઠી જવાનું હોય આફ્રિકાન, ત્યાં પાણીના કરંટ બી હોય, એટલે સઠ્ઠી પુઠેરા પવનમાં ચાલ્યો જાય એટલે પાણીના સામે પર વાણ જાય. હવે વાણ ત્યાં અમે જો સરખાઈથી પવન અમને બરાબર મળે તો ઓછામાં ઓછા અમે 27-28 દિવસે પર પહોંચી જઈએ.
તો આ જે પેસેન્જર્સ હતા આપણે વાળોની અંદર,
હા
એ લોકો કેવી રીતે રહેતા હતા, સૂતા હતા?
હા, હવે જો પેસેન્જર લઈએ એટલે અમે વધારે પેસેન્જર ન ઉપાડીએ. શું કામ કે પાણી પીવાનો એ બંદોબસ્ત કરવો પડે ને પાણીનો. એટલે 15 કે 20 કે 25 ઝાઝા તો 30 એવા પેસેન્જર અમે લઈએ.
અને જ્યાં પહોંચતા ત્યાર સુધી રાશન કેટલા દિવસનું લઈ જતા?
અમને લાગે કે મહિના દી અમે પહોંચશું, 1 મહિનો દી પહોંચશું તો 2 મહિનાનું અમે રાશન લઈએ.
અને રાશનમાં શું શું હોય?
રાશનમાં બધી જે આપણે ઘરે ખાઈએ છીએ ને એ.
અને નાવા કરવાનું?
નાવાનું ન હોય, નાવાનું હોય જ નહીં.
હા,
સમજી લે કે નાવાનું હોય તો દરિયાના પાણીથી 1 કપ પાણીનો હોય ને એ અમને આપે પીવાનો આખા દિવસમાં. એવા 21 દી કાઢ્યા અમે. 1 જ કપ પાણીનો મળે, એ કપથી આખો દિવસ કાઢવાનો હોય, બીજે દી બીજો કપ. આવી જાતના એ દિવસ વાણમાં કાઢ્યા.
નાનજી કાલિદાસ મહેતા પોતાની અનુભવ કથામાં લખે છે કે તેઓ સૌરાષ્ટ્રથી જંગબાર તરફ જઈ અને પછી માજુંગા જવાના હતા, તો તેને બદલે તોફાનો એવા હતા કે જ્યારે ઉતાર્યા ત્યારે માલુમ પડ્યું કે એ તો માજુંગાની બદલીમાં માયોક પહોંચી ગયા. લખે છે કે પવનના સુસવાટા અને મોજાની થપાટોથી વહાણ ઉછળીને પડતું હતું. એ વખતે જીવન અને મરણ વચ્ચે સૌ ઝોલા ખાતા હતા. સૌની જીવે ઈશ્વરનું નામ હતું કે પરમ કૃપાળુ પરમાત્મા જ આમાંથી બચાવી શકશે. આ તકલીફો અને કુરબાનીઓ ફક્ત પુરુષોએ જ નથી આપી, પણ આપણા સ્ત્રીવર્ગે જે કુરબાનીઓ આપી છે તેનો પણ ઉલ્લેખ કરવો જરૂરી છે કે જ્યારે ધર્મભેદને લીધે ભાઈ ભાઈમાં કુસંપો થવા માંડ્યા ત્યારે ઘરની મહિલાઓએ એ સંબંધો તૂટવા દીધા નહીં અને ઘણી જગ્યાએ કુટુંબોના રિશ્તા સાચવ્યા. ઘણી એવી દુલ્હનો હતી કે જે લગ્નને થોડો વખત જ થયો હતો અને ધણીને જ્યારે દેશ પાર જવાની ફરજ પડી ત્યારે મહિના અને ઘણી વખતે વર્ષો સુધીના મેળાપની પણ રાહ જોઈ. ઘણી એવી માઓ હતી કે પોતાના ઘરેણાં વેચી અને દીકરાને એક નાની મૂડી સાથે દેશથી રવાના કરતી, અને એમાંથી ઘણી માઓ એ હતી કે જે લોકોએ કદી પાછા દીકરાઓને જોયા નહીં. એ કલ્પના પણ કરવી મુશ્કેલ છે કે કેવી રીતે તે લોકો 1 મહિના ઉપર સાગરના તોફાનોનો સામનો કરી જ્યારે પહેલી વાર દૂરથી જમીનના દર્શન કર્યા હશે. મહિના સુધી વહાણમાં બેસી અને જ્યારે પહેલી વાર ધરતી ઉપર પગ મૂક્યા હશે ત્યારે તેઓને સપને પણ ખ્યાલ નહીં હોય કે તેમની આ મહેનતોના લીધે 2 કે 3 પેઢીમાં તેમના વંશજનો પૂરી દુનિયામાં એક પંકાયેલી કોમના સભ્યો હશે. કારણ કે આજે ખોજા કોમ લગભગ 40 દેશોમાં વસી રહી છે. 1881માં જંગબારમાં, 1892માં કરાચી અને 1901માં મુંબઈ, અને ત્યાર પછી ઘણી જમાતો ઇન્ડિયા, પાકિસ્તાન, માડાગાસ્કર, કેન્યા, ટાંગાનિકા, યુગાન્ડા, કોંગો, સોમાલિયા, મોઝામ્બિક અને ત્યાર પછીના દાયકાઓમાં યુરોપ, અમેરિકા અને કેનેડામાં જમાતો એ જ આપણી વંશ પરંપરા સાચવે છે. આ જમાતોની એક્યતાની પ્રેરણાનો જશ અબ્દુલ હુસૈન આઝાદ સચદીનાને જવો જોઈએ. તેમણે પોતાના મુનાદીના છાપામાં 1932માં એક લેખ લખ્યો જેમાં એમણે આપણી જમાતોના આગેવાનો અને સંચાલકોને ફેડરેશનનું સપનું દેખાડ્યું. અને કોમની આ ક્રાંતિકારી કલમે જ્યાં કોમ વિખરાયેલી પડી હતી ત્યાં એકતાની લાગણીનો એક ધોધ વહેતો મૂક્યો અને ફેડરેશનના સાચા પિતા તરીકે સતત ખોજા કોમમાં તેમનું નામ સોનેરી અક્ષરે લખેલું રહેશે. 1946માં આફ્રિકા ફેડરેશનની સ્થાપના પછી 1961માં કાઉન્સિલ રિજનલ થઈ અને ત્યાર પછી 1976માં વર્લ્ડ ફેડરેશન બનાવવામાં આવ્યું. અમેરિકા અને કેનેડામાં આપણી સંખ્યા વધી ત્યારે નસીમકોની સ્થાપના 1980માં કરવામાં આવી. ત્યાર પછી કાઉન્સિલ ઓફ યુરોપિયન જમાત્સ કે જે 1994માં બનાવવામાં આવી અને 2009માં પાકિસ્તાન ફેડરેશન, ત્યાર પછી સમસ્ત ભારતની જમાતોનું ફેડરેશન બનાવવામાં આવ્યું જે ઇન્ડિયા ફેડરેશન તરીકે ઓળખાય છે અને એની અંદર 1988માં બનેલા કાઉન્સિલ ઓફ ગુજરાત અને કચ્છ ફેડરેશનનો પણ સમાવેશ થાય છે. આજે એક યુનાઇટેડ નેશન્સ એનજીઓ તરીકે વર્લ્ડ ફેડરેશન દુનિયાભરના 200 મિલિયન શિયાઓમાં એક પંકાયેલી સંસ્થા છે. તો આ છે દાસ્તાન મારા દોસ્તો ખોજા કોમની કે જ્યારે જરૂરત પડી ત્યારે આ કોમે ઘણી તકલીફો વેઠી અને નવેસરથી એક સમાજ બનાવ્યો. જ્યારે ધર્મ બારામાં સવાલો પેદા થયા ત્યારે તે ખોજમાં 700 વર્ષની સફર કરી અને આખરે હક રસ્તો શોધ્યો. એક ડેનિશ ફિલોસોફરે કહ્યું છે કે જીવન સમજવું હોય તો ભૂતકાળને સમજો અને પ્રગતિ કરવી હોય તો ભવિષ્યકાળને જુઓ.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Respected community members, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today we have gathered globally as the Khoja Shia Ishnashri community to celebrate our heritage by organizing the Khoja Heritage Day across all 6 regions of the World Federation of the Khoja Shia Ishnashri Muslim communities. On this very auspicious day, I congratulate one and all for getting together in reflection of our past and celebrating our culture and heritage as the Khoja Shia Ishnashri community, a community we are proud to be part of. Heritage is important because it is our heritage that provides insights into our past and how our society has evolved over time. It helps us examine our history and traditions and enables us to develop an awareness about ourselves. It helps us understand and explain why we are the way we are heading towards. Even the Holy Quran acknowledges the importance of preserving heritage, so long as it gets to the ultimate objective of piety. As prescribed in chapter 49, verse number 13, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa unsa, we have created you out of a male and a female. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا, and we have made you into tribes and nations so that you may recognize each other, you may know each other, you may socialize with each other. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ, verily the noblest of you in the sight of Allah is the one who is God cognizant. Our ancestors and forefathers had a vision of a God cognizant community striving towards excellence in all areas of our lives: educational, economic, welfare, social, and most importantly, our spiritual life. The Khoja Heritage Day facilitates a sense of belonging and patriotism and gives us a chance to celebrate and remember the sacrifices of our ancestors and the life they dedicated in preserving our values. On this day, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have been part of the Khoja Shia Ishnashri fraternity. And let me say it, that out of almost 200 million Shias globally, we are only 150,000, which is not even 0.1% of the Shia population. Yet we command respect across the global Shia community, for our Khojaism is not only limited to the services we provide to our own communities, but rather we share in the growth of the entire Shia global community. In fact, the entire Muslim community and humanity at large. Our Khoja culture reminds us to share and care with simplicity and sincerity, both for our families and humanity at large. At this point, I would like to thank the Khoja Heritage Team and the World Federation for leading in organizing this first ever event in our history. And I pray that this remains firmly embedded in our calendars every year. I would also like to thank the regional federations and the Jamaats and the volunteers on the ground for galvanizing the community and celebrating this day in respective Jamaats. And thank you all for attending this event. And your presence itself means a lot to all of us, and especially the volunteers. Today, we have also launched our Khoja national anthem, our Qawmi Tarana. And if you observe closely, it is composed in 3 dimensions. There is a dimension of Aqidah, our faith. Number 2, our society in which we live. And 3 is a dua. I close with an extract from the anthem. Wasiye che jagat Burma ame, masjido imam wara che mulk amara, biradari che amari, kahiye jene jamaat ame, ikhlas ne saadgi che nara federation na amara, ek bano, nek bano, each che adarsho amara. Let us on this occasion recite Surah Fatiha for all our Marhumin and for all who have sacrificed their life and contributed to the heritage of the Khoja Shia Ishnashri community. Al-Fatiha.
I hope you guys all learned something in regards to the migration. Next up, we have a skit. This is a humorous skit called Fida and Fua, based on a monthly column written by Dr. Husnain Walji in the Shia International magazine in the mid-90s. The skit is a typical conversation between an uncle, Fua, and nephew, Fida, outside a pawn shop, my favorite snack. They banter about current issues with typical Khoja humor, with a mixture of English and Gujarati, and even a word or two in Swahili. Let's give them a minute to set up. By the way, the pawn is all mine, so I'm watching you guys. Don't start.
Let me just get this right. Look, right? Got it? All right, salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Eh, putter. હું તને દેખાણો નહીં. Walaikum salam. Sorry, Fua. Who our Facebook post read કરવામાં બહુ what engrossed હતો. આ મોબાઈલ એક જાતની પનોતી છે. જ્યાં જુઓ ત્યાં બધા એમની સામે એવી રીતે જોઈ છે જાણે કે હીરા મોતી છુપેલા છે. So what, Fua? So
Even
what?
your poi, she gets up in the middle of the night, checks her iPhone.
That's what I'm saying. So what? In today's dunya, if you're not computer literate, you get left behind.
But kaun ke chun computer literate nathi? I even have an email address. It is phua@parkipanchati.com.
Phua@parkipanchati.com. Okay, not bad. So I guess you figured out how to use a computer?
Who samate computer sikhu? When I already have your poi.
What does Fui have anything to do with this? You're talking in Gujarati circles and riddles I can never understand.
Jara akal to vapar. Garma hu chokidar rakhu. Pachi hu samate jagu.
I have no clue what that means, honestly. Chokidar, what? Just sidhu vato karo.
ए मारा पुत्र आपरे गुजराती सीधी बात करे ज नहीं.
I can see that. And that's honestly my question. You can't even answer. Why don't Gujaratis just talk straight?
जो हूँ तने समझाऊं. एक काका ने भत्रीजा ऊपर नीचे रहता था.
Okay.
सवारे भत्रीजाए मोटो ढीमू जोयो.
Time out. What is Dimu?
तू कई स्कूले गए हो तो? ढीमू એટલે swelling.
Oh, swelling. You mean swelling on the head.
એક છે દબ દબ કરો અગર સાંભર.
Okay. Sorry.
સવારે કાકાએ ભત્રીજાએ કાકાને પૂછ્યું કાકા માથામાં ઢીમું કેમ થયું? તો કાકા કે તું ઓલો ફૂટપાથ જોયો? ભત્રીજાએ કે ના, હા હું જોયો. પછી કાકા પૂછે છે તું એની આગે ઓલો રસ્તો જોયો? તો ભત્રીજા કે છે હા. પછી કાકા એને કે છે એની આગે તું ઓલો થાંભલો જોયો? તો ભત્રીજાએ કે હા. તો કાકા કે મેં ના જોયો.
Okay. Tu hu samajho. But what I don't understand is why can't he just say it simply? That he got the swelling on his head from hitting it on the lamp pole. Why the whole thing? It makes no sense. And I don't even understand what you said before about the chokidar. What does that mean?
જો હું તને સમજાવું. તું ભણ્યો પણ ગણ્યો નહીં.
Who NYU ma hatto? Who school ma gya? Okay, but if you're going to talk Gujarati riddles, how am I supposed to
જો
understand?
હું તને સમજાવું. જો મને ઈમેલ લખવું હોય તો all I do is write it down, give it to your pui, she types it and sends it. હવે when I receive one, she reads it to me. So when I have your pui, what do I need to learn about computers?
This is jalebi talk. You are so stuck in your ways, Fua. But honestly, if I share this weird interaction with email on my Facebook where I have 465 friends, it will be very, very popular. This is so weird.
કઈ book? Facebook. તું book લખે છે?
Oh my God.
તું મારા બારામાં લખી છે માં?
No.
તું મારી આત્મકથા લખી?
No.
એટલે
That's
મારી
not.
life story?
Easy. Pela Fua, it is not Facebook. It's Facebook. And I'm not actually writing a book. Facebook is a social media platform. Okay, you can connect with people around the world. You can upload pictures, you can write on somebody's wall, you can poke somebody, you can have friends. It's on 24/7, 365 days a year. It's amazing.
હે મારા ભાઈ, this is too much for me. Okay? મને ચક્કર આવે છે આ કમ્પ્યુટરની વાતથી.
Okay, I don't understand what. There's nothing to be afraid of. Gabrāwanu suche. Fua hutame kwankyan. There was a lady in England. She was 102 years old. Her name was Ivy Bean, and she joined Facebook. And she was so active. She was uploading all the time. She was 102.
અરે મારા પુત્ર 102 વર્ષની બાયરી સાથે મને લાગે કે વર્ગે. Why are you telling me this?
Well, I'm telling you this because listen, imagine if the seniors in our community were like this. They could connect globally through Facebook and WhatsApp. Imagine instead of feeling lonely and overlooked all the time, they could feel included.
This is too much for me. This is so confusing. What am I supposed to do?
That's what I'm here for. That's why we're here. That's why this whole day is here. Listen, Bowaj easy che. You can make your own Facebook profile. Fua's Facebook page. You can create a group, Khoja Senior Group. Kasukaka ne pucho, he'll tell you.
Ataro kasukaka to navro che. I don't understand these things.
Okay, he's not though, because he did figure out Facebook, and he's in his kids' faces on Facebook. He figured out Twitter. He's tweeting on Twitter. He's instantly moving to Instagram. He figured it out.
Dire dire bhai. This is too much for me. You know, toba. Where are we coming to this? Do you know, now when I was in my young days, if I ever poked a friend or wrote on a wall, my father would have spanked me. And now you are telling me that I become friends of my own grandchildren? Where is this world coming to?
It's not that different, okay? Picture this. You're in Lamu. You just finished mosque. So you're outside, you're sitting, you're chewing pan, you're talking about each other's business, you're making fun of your friends. It's the same typical dry Khoja humor that you're already used to. It's the same.
Have samajh pairi. You mean to say Facebook etle internet baraza?
I guess. Shabash. You know what? You get it. Facebook is internet baraza. But ibadi wat muko. You didn't tell me that you went to America.
Tane kevi na khabo pairi? Main to koi na to kidu. Warna parcel lawa parte.
That is true. That's true. But I have two words for you. Facebook Zindabad.
Etle?
I saw your picture on Facebook where you attended a wedding. It was a group picture. It was uploaded on Facebook. That's how I found out.
Asal wat em che ke I was in New York staying with Anu Mama. And on Saturday, he told me that we'll go and have nihari. To mojizo thyo. Taro kanjus Anu Mama mi nihari khawa lai jai. Instead, we ended up in Masjid Ali. There was a wedding taking place, and his sources told him that there was going to be nihari for dinner.
Okay.
This is your Anu Mama. Par ke paise diwari.
Okay, now it makes sense to me. I didn't believe my own eyes that my fua is going to a wedding in America. I hadn't heard about it. I didn't believe it. But now that I do know you went to America, let me ask you the question. What did you learn while you were there?
Actually, when I went for my second helping, the nihari was done. Mara baage farak khali 4 gulab jambu aaya.
Okay. Food. What else?
Mara dost, I met my new friends.
Okay.
Anu Lambo.
Yeah.
Babu Bajia.
Okay.
And Mullah Chakli.
Oh, Mullah Chakli. He should make a Twitter. Hello, ka kemche?
Na me ke sakunga na tum sun sakoge. They were talking things that I could not even understand. You know, like critical thinking out of the box. Hu to asambri na gabrai. America na pani ma jarur kain che.
Listen, forget about food, forget about your friends. Fua, tell me, what did you learn while you were in America?
Actually, navi jat no dando. You and I can go into partnership 50-50. We open an internet pawn shop.
Internet pawn shop? 50-50? How much money do I need to put in?
Now, I learned a new formula.
Okay.
You put in the money, and I will put my experience.
Sure. Hypothetically, let's say if I was to do that. I'm not saying yes, but what would our return on investment look like in 3 years?
In 3 years, you will have the experience, and I will have the money.
I knew it, Fua. I knew it. I shouldn't have even have asked. You can't be serious. Actually, so I'll have to tell you then. When I went to America, business and internet pawn shop was not the hot topic. The hot topic was actually Khoja identity.
Masu discuss karwanu hoy. Apre Khoja janei mache, Khoja rewana che, ne Khoja marwana che.
So we're born Khojas, we're going to live as Khojas, and we're going to die Khojas? Okay, I've heard that. But how about this question? Are we a culture-based community following a faith? Or are we a faith-based community following a culture?
What is there to discuss about? Leave these philosophies of yours. It's like asking which came first, the chicken or the egg. What difference does it make as long as your pui makes me a mast lander Khoja omelette?
Again with the food. Seriously, Fua, come on. I'm serious. I want to know. Khojas in North America. How are they going to rebrand themselves? There's so much diversity. The youth already, my friends, they think we need to drop the Khoja label and just assimilate with the larger Shia Ummah.
Actually, there was a discussion going on, but I went to get my chai and the cupcakes.
Are you serious?
They were to die for. And when I came back, they were talking about soup and salad.
Soup and salad, food, food, food. Is my fooey like starving you or something? Why is that the only thing on your mind?
PhD nothing, but I still understand intellectual deliberations.
Oh, you do? So if soup and salad are considered intellectual deliberations, then sure, you can have a PhD too. It could be called Pida Hua Dimag.
Calm down, Puttar. I have an answer to this.
You do? Yeah. You have an answer to this. We've been sitting here for 10 minutes. You've had, Nihari and Gulab Jabu around the world. Khojas are thinking about this, the smartest people. But you've come up with the answer.
Siddhivache Puttar. We are not supposed, apre Khoja soup no pyalo nahi, pan salad ni rakabi banwani jarur che. એટલે we need to be a plate of salad and not a bowl of soup.
Khudafis. Okay, you can talk about soup, salad, food, all you want.
Ek khobar paka ambana dikra. Have you ever seen a beautiful salad on a table? Have you looked at each ingredients on it? Its color, its texture, its taste?
Yeah.
Like the green lettuce, the purple cabbage, the red tomatoes.
Yeah.
The orange cucumbers.
Yeah.
No, not cucumbers. Now you get it. You see where you are?
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay.
And the orange?
Okay, stop. All right, I get it. Vegetables, all right? Get to the point.
Like the salad, every culture has its identities, right? Every culture has its own language, its tradition, and its ways. That is how Allah made us.
True.
So why should we become one dull color of soup of 200 million Shias instead of one beautiful, colorful salad of ethnicities, traditions, and values?
And cultural identities. I guess I get it. You're right, for Shabash. I get it. You know what? I accept. You're right. You really did.
So then what are you waiting for? Go and put a picture of salad on your Facebook.
All right, I will.
Actually, it reminds me of an Urdu couplet. Is dore tarake ki andaz nirali hai. Is dore tarake ki andaz nirali hai.
Fua, please. He Urdu imini pita.
इस दौरे तरक्की की अंदाज निराली है, सदकून पे उजाली है, ज़हनों में अंधेरा है.
What does that mean?
It means uniquely is this era of progress. The streets are brightly lit, but the minds are in darkness.
The minds are in darkness. Thank you very much. Sarcasm. That's the lowest form of wit, actually.
Exactly.
Exactly what? Boy, you're confusing me.
One needs to match one's wit to suit one's company.
Ah, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Whew. Yo, I think it was great.
I hope you guys enjoy that skit. Jawad, if I see a bowl of salad on your Facebook page, I'll know what it means now. Afterwards, we will have a small speech by Dr. Hasnain Walji, followed by the panel discussion with the moderator being our very own president, Brother Hussein Aziz, with 4 to 5 panelists up on the stage.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, my young friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you for joining the celebration of the Khoja Heritage Day. I hope that you will benefit from the displays and other contents specially created to celebrate the very first annual Khoja Heritage Day by the World Federation. When we talk about heritage, a question that can be answered is, who are you? And you might start to answer that question with your name, but of course you're much more than a name. What are your values? Where did your ancestors come from? Why do you follow the faith traditions that you follow? All these things and many others come together to make up who you are. And today, we have a wonderful opportunity to reflect a little deeper as to an important factor about our identity as a people by looking at our heritage. What then is heritage? The word can be a difficult one to define. Heritage is always something that's passed down by families or communities over decades and even generations. In the posters that we have created for you, you will see that our history dates back to almost 1,000 years. In Lohargarh, near the Khyber Pass, present-day Afghanistan-Pakistan border, where our Luhana ancestors came from. In addition to the tangible objects like your heirloom jewelry or a special piece of furniture or a special copy of the Holy Quran, which have been handed down for generations, heritage also means customs, traditions, values shared by a community. For thousands of years, societies have endeavored to preserve their history, and they have used various methods to do so. For instance, Egyptians documented their history through complex architecture, the pyramids, which are built to last for centuries. Manuscripts were copied in great detail by Jewish scribes to document their trials and tribulations. These are just a few examples of how societies have understood the importance of documenting heritage. One of the reasons why generations of people document their history is because they want to ensure that the stories told are accurately preserved. In our case, a good example is our conversion from the Ismailis. This is the standard narrative that we went from Satpanth to Ismailis and then to the Ithnashri faith. Well, I submit to you that research will tell us that this was not necessarily linear as has been described, but in fact it was simultaneous. It was the British court rulings that changed this narration of our history. This is not my subject today, but certainly we can delve deeper into it another occasion. But the point is that we want to make sure that the knowledge of our culture and our history is understood and correctly recorded for the generations to come. There are a lot of experiences and an abundance of wisdom that can be lost as time passes if it's not recorded correctly. And when that information is documented, then we have access to historical information that can be of significant value in the present time. You know, when you consider the kind of information that's been documented for centuries, you can see the value across many different topics. For instance, comprehensive information in the areas of law, psychology, economics, geography, linguistics, sociology, medicine, and particularly religion, and so much more, has so much to offer to us. By having a historical perspective of these subjects, we can significantly enhance our own understanding of life. When it comes to seeking and obtaining information about your own heritage, it is just as important. It gives you a chance to understand traditions that are specific to your ancestors. You can gain a historical perspective of your family and your culture, including the details about your own heritage, which is unique. Let me share a statistic with you. We as the Khoja Shia Ithnashris are just 150,000, perhaps less, of the 200 million Shias around the world. In that 150 years of our conversion, we have built nearly 300 religious buildings, mosques, imam bargas, and so on and so forth, which means we have built 2 buildings a year in our existence as Khoja Shia Ithnashris. You will see some of those in the video that we've created called Khoja Spaces for you. So, learning about your history and your heritage can help you understand how you became who you are. In fact, having a historical perspective of your heritage can serve as a guidepost, and it often provides information about what one can expect in the future. This certainly does not mean that people don't have the free will to do what they need to do according to the circumstances. But while you can make those correct decisions to guide the outcome of your future, you cannot assume that your heritage will not play a role in what happens to you and others as you evolve. Indeed, I have said this before and I say it again, that when we are looking at our evolution as a community, we need to meet the challenges of the day not with an unquestioning observance to convention, nor with the fascination of the novel, but with a spirit of revitalizing the pristine Islamic values and traditions. We must seek to enhance our institutions, our jamaats, our societies through concepts that derive their nourishment from the spirit of Islam, which are at the same time fitting to the needs of time. So there is a connection between the past and the future. The combination of decisions that you make on a daily basis and events that occur in the past will have an effect on what happens in the future. To a large degree, many of the decisions we make today are actually based on the knowledge of what has happened in the past. So heritage is comprised of many factors from which you cannot separate yourself, such as genetics, events, and evolution. And by understanding the events of the past, it can give you the backdrop that you need to better understand yourself and where you came from. Interestingly, people often spend time in their young adulthood trying to understand who they are. My own personal journey of 30 or 40 years is exactly that, to try and understand who I am through our heritage. And knowing about your heritage is in fact a great way to find yourself. You can learn, you can help yourself embrace the positive characteristics and improve upon others. This is what heritage can do for you. Also, it is so important to see your heritage as an inheritance that has great value. Would you not value a family heirloom of the Holy Quran with a great value? The same thing applies to our heritage. In fact, it is unfortunate to have a rich heritage and not know about it, especially since it's a part of who you are. And lastly, your heritage is not something that you should know and understand, but it is also something that should be shared with your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Knowing your heritage can contribute to the building of character and enhance one's community and family life. Exploring your own heritage can be fun. It can help you learn about yourself, your family, your ancestors. But it's also important to learn about the heritage of others. Doing so can help us build a stronger understanding of other cultures. And this is the reason why each culture must celebrate its heritage, just as we Khojas do through various means. And the Khoja Heritage Day today is a manifestation of that earnest desire to ensure that other cultures also understand the Khoja culture better, as we would like to understand other cultures. it can also lead you to find things you may have common in others. And this is something that comes back to our Gujarati culture, for example. The organized manner in which we operate ourselves dates back to almost 2,000 years within the Gujarat society called the Gujarat Sampradaya, where each community, each vocation, each profession was neatly put into various boxes so that society could organize itself. This is also our Gujarati heritage. Above all, preserving our cultural heritage engenders a positive feeling of communal support. It is said, and research says this, that those who identify strongly with a certain heritage are often more likely to help others, each other, within the same community. Well, the unique and the widely acknowledged distinction of the Khoja Shia Islamic community has been that very trait of helping each other during times of trials and tribulations on our journey from the ports of Pondburn and Manvi. And I urge you to watch again a documentary that we produced a few years ago called The Journey of Faith, in order to understand the resilience, the philanthropy, and the spirit of helping each other. The film documents our 750 years of our history. What you will see today is a 15-minute glimpse of excerpts from that documentary to get a sampling of who we are as a Khoja Shia Islamic community. I say this, that the testimony of that bonding lies in the creation of an enviable network of Jamaats, regional federations, and the World Federation which bind us together. And I hope that the Khoja Heritage Day will engender an even greater sense of belonging and help retain the valuable social capital that our forefathers have built up through a lot of sacrifices over several generations. To end, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the Khoja Shia Islamic community worldwide is today viewed as practicing Muslims and known as a religious society. This is because we owe it to the pioneering spirit of many men and women who went out to search in search of the truth and alhamdulillah found it. The Khoja Shia Islamic community owes a perpetual debt of gratitude to many an humble individual, some of whom, like Haji Naji Sahib, Mullah Qadar Hussain Karbalai, amongst others, the Jamal, that you'll observe in the posters that are created here. Each one has a story to tell. Each tile will tell you a brief story of who these individuals were. So as I end, I ask you to recite a Surah Fatiha for all of them. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So next up, we're going to start our panel discussion with our moderator, Brother Hasnain Aziz, and with 4 to 5 panelists.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely learning a lot today, and inshallah, all of us. This program, it's, as you all know, is being presented across or held across all our Jamaats, right? Celebrating our ancestry, our Khoja ancestry. It's truly phenomenal. So Muntazi does remind me that people are getting hungry, okay? So I'm very much aware. So inshallah, we will try to accommodate this particular segment of the program very quickly. But it's an important one. So when you see the panelists that are coming forward, there'll be 5 of them. And as I was thinking about the panelists, I paid a lot of attention to their background, their journeys. I wanted to make sure that they are representative of what I call our Khoja community. And they really are. Some of them you're going to find have been massive, massive supporters of the community, volunteered, not only themselves, their families have been part of our community. You will also see one where we think about our Khojas and we always sort of align them to their journey into East Africa and then here. But I said, you know, that's not really a true representation. How about also picking one who never actually came to East Africa, but came actually from India to here? And what is his perspective of our community? So I was very selective in that regard. So with that, I will go ahead and introduce our panelists, and then I will ask them all to come forward as I introduce them, right? So the first one is none other than Brother Onali Khalfan. He needs no introduction. He was the very first president of our community. He knows how much I love him. I literally worship this man for what he represents. He's not only about this dunya, he's about the hereafter. And as you heard Hassan al-Walji there say, we owe a lot to those forefathers of ours who were in search of the truth and they found the truth. And this man is a representation of that. So he actually, his background is very interesting. His grandparents came from Gujarat and they came to Africa in the 1800s. They made that journey on the boat. They made that journey. And they actually came, his grandfather actually came to build a railway system in Mombasa as part of during the British colonial times. So it was easy for people within the colonies to move around. So he actually came for that purpose. Marhum Muhammad Abdul Rasul Khalfan, who's his grandfather, he came to Mombasa, and then his father, Marhum Hussein Abdul Rasul Khalfan, he was actually born in Mombasa, and then in the late 1800s, he was an inventor, by the way, by profession. He was a soap technician. And that's where he started building an enterprise for the Khalfan family. Marhum Muhammad Hassan moved to Zanzibar, then to Madagascar. And that's where Uncle Oni was born. So did you know that he studied French and Malagasy, which is the local language in Madagascar, and he speaks both. And from there, he went to Mombasa Primary School, and then from there he went to Zanzibar. He completed his studies at my alma mater in Dar es Salaam, St. Joseph. So those who remember St. Joseph's in Dar es Salaam, one of the best schools in Dar es Salaam, that's where he went. When he completed his studies, he went on to work for Public Work Departure, PWD, in the 1960s. At that time, his salary, and he remembers it, was 240 shillings a month. But just the rent at that time in Dar es Salaam was 170 shillings a month. So there's no way you can make a living off of that. So what does he decide to do? He decides to get into the sign business. And he starts making signs for the public transportation works, the bus, the railways. And that's what he started doing. So he's learned his trade back then, out of necessity. In 1960, and he did this for about 15 years. In 1969, he came to New York. He did return back for a short period of time, but then this is where he decided to make his living, in New York. So with that, with a sign profession behind him, that's what he started building his business. But he was not only focused in terms of just livelihood. His concern was also about the community. And that's the part of our heritage that should never be lost to us. And I hope our youngsters who are listening, they should learn from him. That despite the hardships of coming and settling in a new country, you're coming with your family. Community was not lost to him. And he basically, the basement of his house, he called it Vele Bibi Sakina, and the rest is history. So that's Uncle Oni. The next on our panel is none other than Uncle Ghulam Dinani. To me, when I think about a Khoja, he is a manifestation, is a representation of what a Khoja man is. I don't know if all of you have ever seen him speak in Gujarati when he's giving a speech. He's one of the few that I've witnessed, and he's as authentic as they come. His grandfather, they actually called him Lada Patel because he was from a wealthy caste in Gujarat. He didn't have any children. He was married but didn't have any children. So a soothsayer tells him that in order for you to get children, you're going to have to marry again. And this is a true story, right? You're going to have to marry again. But then in the process, you will also lose all your wealth. And guess what he decides to do? He says, okay, I will marry again. And he does. And he goes on to lose all of his wealth in the process, but he also has children. Because children was meant so much to him. And it should be, it's netma. So after losing all of his wealth, Ghulam Uncle's father, Marhum Fazal Lada Dinani, was born. He was born in the 1920s. And during that time, you must have seen in the video, there was a man called Alidina, Marhum Alidina Visram, and he's smiley. But he was arranging for people to go from Gujarat to East Africa. And you saw him, he was on the video. And therefore, his father decides to make that journey. So Marhum Fazal Dinani, right, he lands up in Uganda, in Fort Portal. The contract is signed, 3 meals a day, accommodation, and 2 pair of clothing. And whatever he earned goes back to India, to his family. Sacrifice. We live for others. This is that representation. That's our Khoja trait. We go anywhere with meager means. Our focus is family first and our community. That is something that's inside of us. He represented that. Then what he does, so he's there, his contract is over within 1 year. He's here, hears a lot about Songea. But first, he decides to take a boat, to a place called Mingoyo. And from there, he makes a journey to Songea. That journey was filled with danger. It took them a couple of days to make it to Songea. Guess what they would do at nighttime in that road? They would actually climb on top of trees and sleep on trees because of the wild animals on the road. And that also reminds me of my grandfather, because in the town between Ifakara and Mahenge, we come from Ifakara, it was that same story. And I remember 6 a.m. one day, making my journey to Dar es Salaam for school. My dad is in a Land Rover, and I see a pride of lion crossing the road. And my father says, Hasnain, look at this. And I said, yes, Dad, I'm watching this. And he said, Hasnain, your grandfather would make this journey from Ifakara to Mahenge, so he can take a bus to Dar es Salaam, so he can go and cook for the Mu'mineen during the months of Muharram and Ramadan. This is the sacrifices people made, our forefathers. That's what his father did. So he would climb on a tree to sleep at night. Okay, so he gets to Songea. Along the way, he meets a person called Kudbaksh. Random person. He takes a liking to him, and he gives him a shop. And from there, the rest is history, because his father goes on to build that shop into one of the most successful ones, and he goes on to become one of the most wealthiest of people in the south of Tanzania. And then he brings his family over, of course, in the process, and he establishes our Khoja Jamaat in Songea. That's Ghulam Uncle's dad. And then Ghulam Uncle, of course, was born. The family moved to Lindi. That's where he was born. In 1969, they moved to Dar es Salaam. And then in 1981, Ghulam Uncle made his journey to New York. Arif Jaxi, I've already introduced him. So inshallah, he will also be one of the panelists. And then number 4, Inayat Habib. Inayat Habib, his full name is Inayat Akbar Kasmali Habib Hasham Chattu. Uncle Inayat's great-grandfather migrated to Africa in the late 1800s and settled in various parts of East Africa coastal area. His grandfather Kasmali was born in Zanzibar in 1901 and shuttled between Zanzibar and the island of Pemba. His father, our beloved Marhum Akal Akbar, was born in 1929 and grew up in Pemba before settling in Zanzibar, when he got married in 1950. Uncle Inayat's mom was also born in Zanzibar and comes from the Hashim Hirji family. When our Bagamoyo Mosque was built, and I mentioned Arif's family involved, his mother's grandfather, Uncle Inayat's mother's grandfather, was at the opening ceremony where he collapsed and died shortly thereafter. He is buried in the mosque compound. So the next time you visit Bagamoyo, and a lot of us do, please make sure you remember him, because he's buried in that compound. Uncle Inayat was born in Zanzibar, where he did his primary education. After the Zanzibar Revolution of 1964, life on the island was not good for the Asians, and this is when Uncle Akbar decided to leave Dar es Salaam, for Dar es Salaam. Our women at that time, as you all know, were in grave danger in Zanzibar due to forced marriages being imposed by the government. And so his sisters, because women could not just be found out like that. They actually made a perilous journey on a boat to get to Dar es Salaam. And it was not safe at that time. Uncle Akbar, and they were in Dar es Salaam. Uncle Akbar then decided to move to the USA in the early 80s after the crackdown in Tanzania. Uncle Akbar, for those who remembered him, was so vested in our community where he taught Quran to our youngsters for many years and served as a trustee as well. And this love to serve was passed on to Uncle Inayat, who himself served in the capacity of treasurer. He actually was one of my mentors when I became secretary of the Jamaat in 1997. And he served as a treasurer for 4 terms. Uncle Inayat has been to India for higher education in 1972, where he studied veterinary science. He got married in 1979 in Dar es Salaam and makes his home in New York, of course, with his 3 daughters, Zainab, Zahira, and Shamim. He says it was not easy to settle here. He moved to Long Island from Queens in 1990. And of course, who forgets the commute, right? From Long Island to Queens every day for our mosque. Okay. And lastly, he needs no introduction, our Mukhi Sahib, Firoz Muqaddam. How can an event be held without Firdaus? Firdaus, his grandparents are from Mahua, Gujarat, which is next to Bhavnagar. I wonder if Firoz Mukhi was far away from you. In early 1900s, they moved to Mumbai, in Dongri. There's an area in Mumbai called Dongri. That's where they went. Firdaus's father, Hussain Ali Khan Muhammad, was born in Dongri in the 1930s. And by the way, his father's, we call him Muqaddam, and the reason why he takes on that name Muqaddam, because Muqaddam is a title used to give someone who's in charge of a ship, almost like a captain. So it's called Muqaddam, and his father was a captain of a ship. Firdaus moved to the United States in 1986, first in his family to do so, and gradually brought his elder brother, his older sisters, and his whole family. Again, a constant theme. One who makes that journey but doesn't forget about his family and establishes them. This is part and parcel of who we are. So these are our panelists. May I ask you all to give them a big salawat, please? So with due to time, I will ask each one of our panelists, and I've given them plenty of time to prepare, 1 question each. Okay? And these questions, when I drafted them, I paid a lot of attention to their background and what will connect so we can learn from them. So Uncle Oni, my dear Uncle Oni, this is the question for you. What is the role of language? What is the role of language in the Khoja community? Is the conversion to English-only programming a strength of the Khoja community, or do you think is it important for our kids to learn different languages, which is part of our heritage, as in Gujarati, Kutchi, Urdu, and even Swahili, because a lot of us came through East Africa. So once again, Uncle On, what is the role of language in the Khoja community?
So, number 1, a child between the age of 3 and 11 can learn 9 languages. So, if we learn Gujarati at home or Hindi or whatever, and then the second language we learn in the school, which in America is in English or England, and then any other language. But a child, as I said, between age of 3 and 11 can learn 9 languages. And it is so unfortunate that we do not teach them Arabic. We have madrasa, we teach them Arabic just to read it without understanding. In Quran, Allah says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, He repeats 4 times in chapter 54. Allah say, I made the Quran so easy to understand. Will you take time to learn? He repeats 4 times. And unfortunately, we do not even teach our children. We teach them Arabic to read, but not understand what we are reading. So it is very unfortunate that we don't teach them Arabic in a way it should be. And the child between age of 3 and 11 can learn 9 languages. So it is so unfortunate. So here is that we should take care that we should teach our children,
So
besides they know Gujarati and English, we must teach them Arabic, because it is the language of Quran, and then it is the book of the Creator, Allah, who is the author of the book. And it is so unfortunately that we don't even teach our children Arabic. And one day we are going to meet him.
Yes.
And then we
Yes.
will not be able to face him because we don't know what we read in his book.
Message is clear, Uncle Owen. Message is clear. The Creator has communicated with us in that language. It is our responsibility. And one thing, as you heard Nastin Walji also mentioned, right? Credit to our forefathers, because they went and searched for the truth, and they have helped us, guide us, right? So it is our responsibility. If we know Quran is the language of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is the truth, then that's where we go. And thank you, Uncle Oni.
One thing, I am sorry that we, the Khoja community, we are so close and we celebrate so much about Ahl Bayt, but when it comes to Quran, we are so far. This is something which is,
we have to look
we should adjust it.
Yes. Ahsan, Uncle Owen. Thank you. And Ghulam Uncle, I'll bring you in at this point, and maybe as a lead-in to your question that I'm going to give you, if you could also touch upon Gujarati and Kutchi and Urdu and Swahili, which is clearly part of our heritage. And even, in fact, I remember sitting with Agha Sistani in my Ziyarat trip, and normally people come in and when they meet with him, they ask him for advice, right? And I said, Sheikh, what would be your advice when we go back to our communities? The first thing he said is preservation of your culture. He didn't mention namaz, he didn't mention our ibadat, no. He said preserve your culture. It is important. And what is part and parcel of our culture? Language. It is part and parcel of our culture. So Uncle Ghulam, I'll ask you to please weigh in on that. The importance of teaching our children Kutchi, Gujarati, Urdu, which is language of our forefathers. Your thoughts, please.
This is an added question. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Asnan, language is the basis of communication. If we want to keep in touch with our land, and when I say our land, I myself am confused. Am I a Tanzanian? Am I an Indian? Am I a Pakistani? Or am I an American? But if you go to our ancestors and if we want to keep in touch with their culture, whether it is English, Kutchi, or Gujarati, which they speak, we have to learn these subjects. We have to learn these languages. And as far as immigration, most of it, you would wonder, but it was more Kutchis immigrating to East Africa, and the Gujaratis followed much later, and their numbers were very small. It's a pity that most of the immigrants which landed up in Zanzibar would not, after some time, use Kutchi, but opted out for Kiswahili, which was the trend of the time. And again, speaking of Jangbari Kiswahili is totally different than colloquial, and the aversion is totally endemic to the Jangbaris. So coming to that, what I said that Kutchi language died eventually in Zanzibar, and Swahili was the norm. Coming to our Khoja heritage, I'm proud to say that our 5 marjas who I have lived through, starting from Sayyid Sistani, Gulpaigani, Al-Khoi, Tabatabai, all of them have said that Khojas are the apple of their eyes. They loved Khojas because of our discipline. And why was that discipline there? As you must have heard it several times, that we are only 150,000 among the 2 million Shias. So there was this struggle for survival. And when there is struggle for survival, just like Jews, we make a success of it. And that is our basis of what we are. I would like to add my Khoja ancestry and my family. You must have heard about Devji Jamal. My wife, Sabira, is Sabira Abdul Karim Jafar Devji Jamal. I myself, I am Ghulam Abbas Fazal Lada Dinani. Lada Dinani, as you heard from our president, but one point is that he also has been a star in the Khoja hereditary. In fact, there is a book which is called Kach no Kajio. In that book, Kach no Kajio, how the Shia Khojas, Shia Ishnashri Khojas, opposed Shia Ismaili Khojas in Kera, in Kutch. It's a short brief, so I would just say that there is a Gulmali Pir mausoleum in Kera, and it was an honor for every Khoja leader to come and raise a flag there. And when the late His Highness Aga Khan III, Sultan Muhammad Shah, tried to raise the flag, the Ishnashris of Kera objected to it, and there was real fist fight and club fights. In there, my grandfather was one of those opposing. They were dragged into British courts at that time in Bhuj, and the decision was in favor of Khoja Shia Ishnashris, and thus that Gulmali Pir today also is in the hands of Khoja Shia Ishnashri. This is just telling you a part history of my family. My daughter Shelina is always after me to write the history, and I am at it, but very slow, inshallah.
So Ghulam Uncle, let me bring you to that main question that I had for you.
Yes.
Right? And by the way, it's a great history.
Right.
Is there, and speaking of Shelina, and I'm sure she struggles with this too, is there such a concept as a Khoja identity? And is the Khoja identity that you have and that your children have, are they the same or are they different?
Shelina calls me the poster boy of Khoja. In fact, as far as I am concerned, I would classify myself as Khoja number 1. But, and my children are following me. My grandchildren are also. But after that, what happens is I had an opportunity to give a right to Ibrahim Jafar's father, marhum Hassan Bhai. And he told me about him writing a book on Khojas. And I just said that, Hassan Bhai, do you know we are an endangered species? He stopped me. He said, can I use that for my title?
Is that right?
Yes, and he has mentioned it in his foreword as well, that this name, this book's name, as the endangered species was proposed by Ghulam Dinani.
Oh wow, mashallah. So what is that identity, Ghulam Uncle? Get
So-
the point. What is that,
Yeah,
when you say
now-
we are Khojas, what is our identity?
Our identity is, per all those features that we saw today, is very clear. And by repeating it that, I might be inclined to say that I'll be wasting everybody's time, but believe me, that struggle for survival, if we instill it in our children, Khoja heritage will survive.
Ahsan. Thank you, Ghulam Uncle. Thank you very, very much, really. Okay, our next panelist is Arif Jaxi. And by the way, as everybody knows right now, I think I did an injustice to Ghulam Uncle. He has served as president of our community, and he's a mentor of mine, and he's always there for advice. And Ghulam Uncle, I cannot thank you enough, because you're always there for me, whether I call you at home or in the center, you're always there, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family for all the services you've given us over the years and continue to do. And he's also served as vice president of the World Federation. Okay, Arif. So Arif, as you all know, not only dedicates time, of course, to his family, to his livelihood, successful businessman, and that's the Jaxi family, but also gives his time to the community. And he needs no introduction on that part. But he's also a sportsman. And he's one of those unique folks in our community here, because when you think about sports, we always are about either soccer, Jaffrey Sports, or volleyball, Union Islanders, or tennis, you know, Long Island Tennis Association with Muntazir. But cricket is there, very much alive, and Arif runs it for the community. So when you think about cricket, it's Arif Jaxi. So Arif is a sportsman, and he's represented our community in multiple Supreme Council tournaments, including Nairobi, which is where the big one is, because Nairobi as a place is big on cricket, and he's gone there and played against them and done very well. So Arif, the question for you is as follows. What is the role of sports? And by the way, you'll notice on the easels, there's a whole, and by the way, there's a big injustice the World Federation has done, because in soccer in 2006, they don't have my name there. The only player out of the West to win in Tanzania, we beat them at the national stadium, we beat them there, and we brought the cup to USA, and I was the MVP. And Makbul Uncle, I know you have connection to the World Federation, and Ghulam Uncle, we're going to file a complaint. So 2006, that should be Hussein Aziz MVP of Supreme Council. Anyway, well, that's a small matter. So Arif, what is the role of sports in the Khoja community? How can we involve more youths in sports and make our sports clubs more inclusive?
Hassan, thank you very much. How ironic that Hussein Aziz is asking me a question about sports. When he's been the chairman of Jaffrey Sports, where he's been the coach Aziz that everybody knows. All the kids love him fondly, and we thank him for his services to the community in the sports area, as well as, you know, now the president of our Jamaat. You know, he puts passion in everything that he does, and he was my vice president at that time as well, for half of the term. And everything that he does, he really puts a lot of effort and passion, and God bless him, and God bless you for all that you do for our community. Since the word Khoja and sports is really synonymous, because, you know, when you hear about Khoja, you think of sports, and when you think of sports, you know, and Khoja just go together. When I remember when I was a kid, I used to go to these union cricket matches, Union A, to watch, you know, Bashir Tajani and Muhammad Ali Nattu and all of them. play in the grounds against the other communities, the Bohora communities, Ismaili, the Hindu communities, and when you look at a team like Union A, we were proud to be Khoja, because these are the people that really shine, because and we felt like we want to be one of them. I wanted to be the next Bashir Tarjani, maybe, and so these are the kind of people that we try to emulate at the end of the day, and because of the fact that we have sports within our communities, we take these people as role models, and I'm sure people look up to you as well for that role model. Maybe I want to be the next Coach Aziz. Maybe I want to, so that instilling that in our youth, makes for us to have a much more, inshallah, productive and encouraging future for our generations to come. I feel that it's important for us as parents to involve our children at a very young age in sports. And mainly because, I know we come to mosque, we have our religious duties, Islam is a lifestyle. But also when we go out there, when we have our, we mix with other cultures, obviously we have to make sure that there is more than just this center. We have to make sure that we engage on the outside world as well. And the one way to do that is to really engage our youth in the outside activities, playing amongst ourselves as well as, amongst other cultures and communities as well. And being that we involve our children at such a young age, the children see that same kind of people or friends, or make lifelong friends from within the communities as well, just because they see them both in madrasa and outside of madrasa. And because of that, they start to engage, talk more in madrasa, engage more outside. And therefore you build this bond whereby you actually assist the parents in actually making sure that the youth are held within the community, rather than them going out, to other distractions. We are now engaging ourselves within our own communities and kind of helping them out, helping the parents out in turn. So it's important to have that from a young age, because then when you get to an older age, it's hard to associate.
Absolutely.
It's hard to engage. You don't know these friends of yours, etc. So that's what I would put as a take. And as far as the inclusivity, I feel a person like Mustafa Dinani. He's a person that obviously is a Khoja. He's a soccer star, and he's done very well in the Umoja games as well. All that he's done, he's really tried to include the outside communities, beyond this Khojas, and he's done very well for our community as well. So God bless him for all his efforts. But sports is a very important part of our community. So.
Thank you. Parents, I really we think about sports, and we sort of, there are two sets of parents you'll find. The older ones will be like, what's like suchia. But then you find the newer generation of parents getting more and more involved, right? And there's many young ladies here who help me with the youngsters, right? Coordinate Shermin is right here, right? Others are there, Natasha Khalfan, who's my backbone in Jaffrey Juniors. They do amazing work. And you know why? Arif said something so important. When you think about your kids going to Union to play Friday nights, and when you think of today, 6:45 a.m. on Sunday, 6:45 a.m. on Sunday. I have 22 kids who come and play. 6:45, right after Subuh Namaz, they come and play. And you know who are some of the kids? They're right here. Mahdi Hassan Ali, Maisam Hassan Ali, Aryan Khalfan, his brother Saif Khalfan. Youngsters, our own community kids, 6:45 and I'm playing with the adults. You know why I'm so passionate? Think about the trouble we put them away from. They could be using the time to do other things. Friday night, they could be doing other things. This is why when Arif says, sports is a big thing for us. You know what? It keeps our community together. It's healthy, but it keeps them together. And you know something? Inshallah, in a few weeks, you're going to be getting an invitation of our plans for this center. We're working on our permits and building a gym at the back there. And wait till Mazhar Khalfan comes here and talks to you about what our center will look like. Inshallah. I will not rest until that gym is built for our youngsters, but even for our elderly. I can't wait for our elderly, Uncle On and me walking on that track together, right? For our elderly, we're going to have professional instructors come hold yoga classes. Sports is very important for us, big. So thank you, Arif. And you see my passion come out also. Okay. Next question. Uncle Inayat, my mentor, who taught me a lot about serving the Jamaat. Uncle Inayat, here is the question for you, Uncle Inayat. How are the Khoja communities, it's a trick one, how are the Khoja communities inclusive to other cultures, and can we improve upon this even further?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
See, we adopt very fast with the surrounding cultures. When we came to United States from East Africa, for us it was a big cultural shock, but as the kids were born here, they started adopting to the surroundings and the local cultures. Now mixing the two cultures becomes very, very dangerous, and the children get confused. The only way for us to maintain our heritage, the Khoja culture, is for places like these centers where the Khojas are known to be building centers everywhere in the world, wherever we settle down. And there should be more programs in these centers here targeting the youngsters. Not only Azadaris, not only mothers, but various kind of programs whereby the culture is maintained, and of different ages, women, men, elderly people, and taking advices from our past elders and community leaders. So it is the role of this community Jamaats they have to play in order to maintain the culture of the Khoja community.
Awesome. Thanks, Uncle Inayat. And this is so true, right? Because even if you look back, when our forefathers were coming into East Africa, and you look at, for example, Dar es Salaam, where I grew up as well, late in my teen years, you could see the role that we had, whereby within the Jamaat, of course, we kept our heritage, we kept our customs, our organization intact, but we were also very open to people from the African diaspora to come to the community, right? We even helped them found the Bilal Foundation. Look, our responsibility as a community has always been take care of our own, because we are small in numbers, unity in strength, right? Strength is unity. This is when I talk about our identity, that's part of our identity, that's who we are. So that's never going to go away. We will always take care of our own. We have to, otherwise we will become an endangered species, right? But with that, our responsibility, in the words of our Prophet, in the search of the truth that our forefathers did, we have a responsibility to others. We have to take care of them. So when we have in our community people from the Iraqi community coming, people from the Iranian community coming, it's a sense of pride for us. And you know what they tell me when I talk to them? They say, your center is the best because we feel welcomed. Some don't even go to their own, they come here because of the services we provide. And this should continue. It has to continue. This is who we are. But we will never forget our people, our ways. This is our administration is going to be there. Our administration has been touted. You go to Sheikh Father Sahlani. Why do they send, when people pass away, the first preference is given here? Because of the work of Makbul Ladak, because of the work of Sheni Darsi, because of their work of Murtaza Ladda, in how we do things the right way. When we take care of our accounts, why is it loaded that our accounts are so perfect that when we show up in the general body and present our accounts, not $1 is missing? Why? That's our heritage. We are people of business from Gujarat. We brought that with us, but that's our trait. That's our identity. That's not going to change, and that's never going to change. But we will always be a welcoming community because we have to be. That's Islam, right? Okay. So I also thought about Firdaus because I said, you know, the 4 panelists here came through East Africa, made their way to the United States. But Firdaus did not come through East Africa. So I said I wanted to get his perspective because he's here, he's come from India. Of course, he married my cousin. But I wanted to know specifically from him. So Firdaus, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Uncle Inayat. Because that whole question about inclusivity, we may think we are inclusive, but you also have a different perspective. So if you can talk to me about the Khoja community in India and inclusivity in India, and then compare that to what you're seeing here. It's a difficult question. It could be a sensitive question, but we have to know that. So Firdaus, over to you.
Well, I think we're running short of time, so I'll be very, very brief. It's a very subjective question, and we can be here for an hour, discussing this. But I'll be very brief about it. In India, there is not that much of awareness as Khojas. Okay, it's a granted thing given over there that we are all Khojas, and we have our mosque, and as we move further inland because of space and stuff, we build our centers over there too, just like how we are building centers here. And the thing has never come up where to say that are we in endangered species or something. That has never come up over there. But I guess when we come to, when you guys have gone to Africa, it's a totally different land. So we were born there, we brought up over there. So that the thing has never been that are we still, are we going to maintain a Khoja culture? We have issues, the same thing that we have here is that our kids are also marrying outside. Okay, getting into Sayyid families and stuff. And coming to the point, of being inclusive, yes, the Khoja Mosque in India is inclusive of a lot of other communities also. And we have set up an example as we are setting up here that we are very strong in organization, and that's what we bring forward to the Khoja community and in the Muslim community in general in Bombay. Okay, and we build qabristans and stuff over there. Yes, we don't have enough in education wise, okay, but we are very inclusive. And my thing to going forward, that now we are in America and we have our strong points as Khojas, then we should use this and bring forward more benefits to other communities. Because we build centers, we should open our centers for others to come and have like marriages and stuff, okay, and be there for the whole community, because not everybody has the capacity to build centers as we do, as Khojas do, okay. So this is my point, is that be more open to other communities outside and let them benefit from what we are good at, okay. So I mean, look at this center. There's such a beautiful center in Long Island. Nobody has this center like this. So let us make use of this center to benefit everybody, okay. We maintain our culture, we maintain everything, but let us use the center and open it up to benefit everybody.
Jazakallah. Can I have a big salawat for that? Allahumma salli ala. And I will just leave you with this. Today, we have 120 to 30 students today in madrasa. Do you want to know what is the number of students on the waiting list to get into our madrasa? You want to guess? It's almost 100. We have 100 other students. We cannot take them in because we have our own constraints. And these are kids from other communities. But it is such a pride for me when I say that our madrasa caters not only to ours but to others. This is, believe it or not, when Firdaus says, look at our beautiful center, don't for 1 second think that it is not the ni'mah of the people who do that work, who serve the broader community, that brings us the blessings that we have. This is the benefit with it. But yes, administration is important. This is what we are known for. This is why we are the administrators. But to what he said, benefit, we have to look at how we can benefit the broader community. That's ni'mah in there. So with that, I would like you all to give our panelists a big, big salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa alayhi. Ahsan, jazakallah khair. So I think that does round out the program, but before we all depart, and I'll ask my panelists to stay there, I just have one small announcement. Is Ibrahim Jafar here? Is Ibrahim uncle here? Can I have Ibrahim uncle? Okay, beautiful. So, I just want to take this moment. Okay, this is a very special moment. First of all, you did an amazing play with Jawad. Can I have a salawat for that as well, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So his father, Marhum Hassan Jafar, it is just appropriate. On this day, as we celebrate our Khoja heritage, our management team at Al-Mahdi Center would like to take this opportunity to recognize a very special man who, while unfortunately is not amongst us, his lifetime of work serving our community and in the process compiling a treasure trove of our Khoja history is no small feat. He is none other than Marhum Hassan Ali M. Jafar. Born in 1932 in Zanzibar, he left for Mombasa at a young age. And after completing his secondary school education, he undertook a practical course in agriculture at the Indian School of Agriculture in Morogoro, Tanzania. He commenced his work in serving our community from 1953 when he was elected Honorary General Secretary of the Jafri Sports Club of Mombasa, a big, big sporting organization. He also became vice chairman of the Mombasa Jamaat. His exemplary work was there for all to see, and ultimately, our late Mullah Asghar, M.M. Jafar, requested him to serve as honorary secretary of the Africa Federation. He has been elected member of the Executive Council of the World Federation of Khoja Shia Ethnashi Muslim Communities since its establishment in October 1976. With the wealth of experience at his command, Marhum Hassan Bhai was a prolific writer and public speaker and had vast knowledge of the history of the Khojas since the migration from India to East Africa and Indian Ocean Islands. He always enlightened the audience during conferences. He was always at the forefront and steadfast in defending the interests of our community worldwide. Whenever his services and advice was required, be it for the Africa Federation or the World Federation, and even when he came to the local Jamaat, he was always there. One noteworthy book, as has been mentioned, and Ghulam Uncle you mentioned, The Endangered Species, written in 2012, and it concerns us. The book illustrates, and please, if you have not done so, do it. Get it for our youngsters. You owe it to them. The book illustrates how, upon their arrival in Africa, beginning in the late 19th century, the Khojas coped with the daunting prospects on a vast unexplored tract of land within the milieu of African and Arab cultures. Through the prism of real-life Khoja experiences, the book highlights the challenges of these pioneers who were subjected to German, British, French, Italian, Belgian, and Portuguese colonial rules. It was brutal. It was brutal. And yet, against all odds, managed to emerge with their identities virtually intact. The book illustrates how in the wake of the partition of the subcontinent led by a Khoja, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Pakistan, India, how the Indian and Pakistani Khojas developed under different influences and cultures. All in all, it is an interesting analysis of 5 generations and 5 continents later, what factors contribute to help retain its identity and optimize its social capital. Equally importantly, the book addresses the dispersal of the community and what the future lies ahead for it. Other books the marhum wrote are The Sowing and Reaping of Destiny with ABCD Syndrome Wither Khoja. It was written in 2008, and then he wrote The Relentless Endeavors, a biographical review of the life and times of Mullah Asghar M.M. Jafar. Can I have a big salawat face for his marhum? Allahumma salli ala. As Maulana Ahmad Raza Hussaini, a former resident alim in Mombasa and now in Toronto, mentions, he was the final bridge who helped link the Khoja past and the future. His passing away at the age of 86 years in Mombasa was not only a loss to his family, but to the community at large. Can I ask for one Surah Fatiha for him? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And with that, there's a small plaque here that we would like to present to his family for his lifetime of work in service of our community. It reads, posthumously presented to Marhum Hassan Jafar from Al-Mahdi Center, in gratitude for his tireless efforts towards compilation of our Khoja history, provided by the management team, of course, and awarded the family on behalf of the Marhum from Al-Mahdi Center. Can I ask his son, Ibrahim Jafar, please to come forward, and may I ask the president of Nasimco, Arif Jaxi, to please present this plaque to Ibrahim. For Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat. So with that, everyone, I know we're all a little hungry as well. I know that Rehana Jafar and our ladies team who do amazing work have organized a fantastic meal for all of you. I want to also take this moment to thank all our caterers, but also Sister Ruby Karmali. I'm sure all of you have enjoyed what she has prepared for us over the last, several events here. can I have a big salawat for her, because she does such amazing East African cooking for us, which is also very Khoja influenced. From Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Ahsan. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much for attending today's program. I hope you all found it knowledgeable, but also very enjoyable. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
دعاء واحدة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. لا إله إلا الله إله واحدا ونحن له مسلمون. لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره المشركون. لا إله إلا الله ربنا ورب آبائنا الأولين. لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وعده ونصر عبده وعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده فله الملك وله الحمد. يحيي ويميت ويحيي وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على
زيارة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوسيين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولى وابن مولى. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلطان أبو الحسن علي بن موسى رضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
For the men, we have food in the other hall. Treat yourself to kebabs, kalimati, mandazi, and chai. No pan for you though.
Thank you.